It looks like Arsenal finally have their man. A fee has been agreed for Victor Gyokeres, and this week might be the week that we can confirm he will be Arsenal's number 9 for next season, as well as 3 other massive pieces of business that might get done in the next 7 days. We're going to discuss it all here on Arsenal Unfiltered. Let's get started. Yes, hello and welcome back to another episode of Arsenal Unfiltered, your 3 times a week dose of Arsenal coverage with me, your host Mark. Wherever you are in the world, I hope you are well. This podcast is for you if you are tired of the mainstream media coverage of Arsenal and you just want something different, something a bit more honest and thoughtful and without those kind of filters that people tend to put on our great club. Today we are discussing a humongous week, an absolutely humongous week for Arsenal. As I said in the kind of intro, it looks like Victor Gyokeres is going to be coming to Arsenal now. We had the really positive news a little while ago that the personal terms have been agreed. Then we had the news that there had been a big bit of progress made and we'd moved away from the Sesko deal. Then it stalled for a bit. There was clearly a mismatch in valuation between the two clubs. We had that statement from the sporting president, but now it looks like we will get our man. We will discuss that in more detail. Plus, we have massive deals for Madueke, Arsenal Mosquera, and potentially Nwaneri progressing as well. So all of that could happen in the next 7 days. We could have lots and lots of news to discuss over the coming week. So really exciting. If you want to follow along with all of that news, you can find me on Blue Sky, Arsenal-Unfiltered at bsky.social. And you can follow this podcast wherever you get your podcast from to make sure you don't miss any of our 3 episodes every single week. Let's get started then. Victor Gyokeres to Arsenal. The fee is being reported as £55 million plus add-ons for 10. The reason that it seems that all of this kind of mismatch in valuation and the kind of real controversy about the fee has changed so quickly, this is on Sunday that this happened, I'm recording Monday morning, was that Gyokeres' agent has waived a fee that Sporting should have been paying him. So it seems like in the contract, the agent had a fee that Sporting would need to pay them based on any move that Victor Gyokeres made. So Sporting want to make sure that they have a little bit extra from Arsenal to facilitate paying that fee to Victor Gyokeres' agent. Now the agent has waived that fee. He has said, don't worry about it. When I won't take that fee, that allows Sporting to charge a lower overall package to Arsenal. It means that Arsenal have the price that they want to pay. And I presume, Andrea Berta has looked at these 2 deals and said, maybe we would have paid a little bit more for Sesko because he's got some sell-on value. He's a bit younger. We could probably get 2 contracts out of him rather than 1. So they would have been paying a little bit more, but they had a price limit for Sesko, and they've clearly had a price limit for Victor Gyokeres as well. The difference, I guess, and a lot of people are talking about this online, is that Victor Gyokeres has been very strong on his position that he is leaving. Whereas Benjamin Sesko, we haven't really heard from him or his agent all summer. That has very much been Arsenal to Leipzig conversations, whereas Victor Gyokeres has been a bit more, I say vocal. He's given more information out. He's allowed his agent and his team to get things out there in the public domain. He's not necessarily spoken directly about it, but there's been communications from his camp, let's say, and he has gone on strike. That has been what's happened. He has not reported back for training with Sporting CP, and the Sporting president has clearly been very angry about this. Just going back a few steps, if you didn't know, the gentleman's agreement and where all this anger from Victor Gyokeres has come from is the previous Sporting CP director, I think it was Hugo Viana, used to play attacking mid, very good player actually, Hugo Viana. He basically agreed with Victor Gyokeres and his camp. You can move for this fee. This is the number. The kind of Sporting director president then changed. And the new president, sporting director, I can't remember exactly their role, they were then in a position where they're saying, no, I don't agree with that fee. We want higher than that. And that's obviously annoyed Victor Gyokeres because he thought he had that agreement with the club. It seems it was more of an agreement with Hugo Viana. He didn't get it down in writing. So the Sporting as a club were able to say, no, we want a bit more. Arsenal obviously had their valuation, and there's been that kind of really difficult to and fro. Now, I've read this morning that all being well, I think it was from Charles Watts actually. Go and follow him and listen to the Inside Arsenal podcast, by the way. A fantastic little resource if you like to keep up to date with really good, solid information and solid reporting about the club. He is saying that all being well, Victor Gyokeres will be on the plane to Asia in a couple of in I think about a week's time actually. And if he is on that plane to Asia, we might see him as early as the AC Milan game, as in the 23rd of July. And that for me would be super exciting to be able to see Martin Zubimendi and Victor Gyokeres in that game. I'm sure we'll see a little bit of Kepa, a little bit of Norgard in that game as well. But the other guys, Victor Gyokeres and Martin Zubimendi, are really, really exciting. How do I feel now that we're here? Well, 55 plus 10 is far less than I thought we would play for Victor Gyokeres. So I'm actually really delighted with that. That fee feels very, very reasonable given the stature of the player, how many clubs wanted him, his kind of goal scoring record in Portugal. You know, put the translation to the Premier League aside, the goal scoring record is still quite simply absurd. So 55 plus 10 feels like a really, really good piece of business. And I said it at the start of the summer, I was a bit more Sesko, but really I didn't feel like there was such a huge difference between them that, you know, I think there was a lot to do with price and getting people in early and all of that sort of stuff. That should really factor into this discussion. And that, you know, is clearly something that Andrea Berta agrees with. Don't know if he listens to the podcast. I doubt he does. I think he's probably just come to the same conclusion on his own, that actually these two players, we're not talking about players who have a huge golfing quality between Sesko and Gyokeres. So actually the negotiating position was really important. The price we'd pay, the overall package. I think John Cross has reported Victor Gyokeres will be on about £200,000 a week. We think from earlier reporting, although it was never really confirmed, that Sesko would have been north of that, and his camp wanted a little bit more. So overall package, this feels like a really good deal. And I'm really, really happy we've moved for it in the way that we have, because frankly, the price that Leipzig wanted for Sesko was just not realistic and not worth it, in my opinion. As I've watched a little bit more of Gyokeres since we've kind of moved towards him, I have grown on him as a striker. I think if Sesko had been available at a good price, I still would have gone for him. But because of the price, I think this is the right move. And Gyokeres, I don't think he will be as brilliant as he looks on tapes, but I do think what he will bring is goals. I think he will score goals. I said in a previous podcast what makes a good season for Victor Gyokeres. For me, if he gets 19 to sort of 23 goals, he's done his job. And I think that, you know, combined with a bit of contribution from Kai Havertz as the other number 9, I think that will push us forward and get us very, very close to the title. Billy Carpenter has been, you know, doing his fantastic stuff over the summer, writing about players that we might be interested for and doing lots of analysis on them. He's done a fantastic graph that I've seen this morning where he's looked at forwards, all kind of forwards, with a peak sprint velocity on one side of the table and runs in behind per match. And Victor Gyokeres is right at the top right of that. He has quick peak speed and runs in behind often. That combination with Martin Zubimendi and his ability to get his head up and release passes fast, plus, you know, you're looking at Nwaneri and Madueke, we're looking at maybe Eze and Rodrigo. I think there is a very, very clear strategy from Arsenal this summer, and that is all about doing things quicker. You know, a lot of the players that we're looking at and buying, you know, I don't know if I look at Victor Gyokeres and go, I see where he fits. I definitely don't look at Nwaneri and Madueke and see where he fits. I'll come on to that in a bit. But I think that is almost a good thing. It's great that I can't quite see them in the old Arsenal model, because that means we're creating a new model. And again, I've said this on previous pods, we are creating different tactical options, tactical flexibility. If Mikel Arteta feels like we can break on teams, I think we're going to see maybe Nwaneri and Madueke off the left. We might see Nwaneri and Madueke on for Bukayo Saka when the other team gets tired. We will definitely see Victor Gyokeres up front. We will see Martin Zubimendi pinging balls in behind. And if he thinks that maybe we need to break them down with, you know, death by 1,000 cuts, we might see a little bit more Kai Havertz. We will definitely see more Martin Odegaard involvement in games like that. We might see Eze. So we are building tactical flexibility, and that graph from Billy Carpenter was really, really good and helped me see a little bit more of that. There was also a really good graph from The Athletic showing how Victor Gyokeres runs and all of that sort of stuff. We spoke about that on another podcast. So do, if you're looking for a bit more content, go back and have a look at some of the old podcasts. We've spoken about a lot of these deals quite regularly. So Victor Gyokeres, that looks like it's going to happen this week. I'm delighted from multiple points of view. I think he's going to be a good player for us. It's a good fee, it's a good overall package, and we're getting it done. So hopefully, even if he doesn't quite make the AC Milan game, because look, we always want things to go smoothly, but there's always a bit and a bob, that happens. So it might not. He might not make the AC Milan game. He will probably make the Newcastle and Tottenham games, though. So that's fantastic. Okay, that's Victor Gyokeres. I'm going to take a short break before we discuss the other three deals that might be getting done or making huge progress this week. Sorry for interrupting everyone, but I am on a mission and I need your help. I'm trying to get Arsenal Unfiltered into the ears of as many people as possible, and the best way that you can help me do that is by going and leaving a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts at. That really, really helps me grow the podcast and allows more people to hear the Arsenal Unfiltered coverage 3 times a week. So if you would be so kind to go and leave a review wherever you get your podcast from, I would really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Welcome back to this episode of Arsenal Unfiltered. In the first half of the episode, we spoke about Victor Gyokeres, the deal that is nearly done, the deal of the summer. And now we have some other business that is coming on. And look, I'm going to start with Noni Madueke, because I've done a podcast that I don't really see the fit. And my conclusion from watching a bit of Noni Madueke, looking at his stats, was I think he's a good player. He might be a really good player. I don't think he can ever be a great player, just looking at the eye test, but I would love to be wrong on that. But I think he's a good player. I think that the kind of protests about him coming from Chelsea are ridiculous. If there is a player out there that is good, go and get him. I'm not sure I see the fit. He might be great off the left. That might be a plan. And again, tactical flexibility. It might be that Mikel Arteta has absolutely convinced him on the project, on being Bukayo Saka's backup, on getting some minutes from the left. It might be that all of those things have happened. I'm not sure I can convince myself a £52 million total package for a player who will either be playing lots of minutes out of position or will be a backup to our very, very best player. And I kind of stand by that position, even though we know that this is moving a lot closer. I'm not in the camp that I think Noni Madueke is a bad player. I'm not in the camp that I protest about it because it's from Chelsea. I don't know if I'm in the camp about the fee, because actually we're seeing Gibbs White, we're seeing Alanga, we're seeing lots and lots of good players, or good high potential players, I should say, really, move for around that kind of money. And if they're going to Newcastle, Alanga's he's gone to Newcastle, isn't he? I can see that as that is a Champions League level club who have added a very good player from a lower team, a lower stature team, and they're moving forward with it. I think you could probably say the same about Arsenal and Noni Madueke. So maybe not the lower stature thing before I piss everyone off, but Chelsea have won a lot, but we're managing to get a deal for him because he just doesn't want to be there. Even though I'm not sure I get the fit, the last kind of, I'm going to say week and a half, the reaction to it has left me with a very sour taste in my mouth. I personally think it's been quite a embarrassing kind of period this for the Arsenal fans online. And I'm talking about a very small minority here, and I think there's definitely been over-exaggeration from these comments from other fans to kind of pile on and make it look worse than it is. But there is a very small percentage of our fan group that really, really like to jump on things and make some horrible comments. Noni Madueke's had to turn his comments off on his Instagram, and apparently he has received really, really horrible messages. I have not seen those messages, I will say that for transparency, but we know he's had some very, very poor comments around, and the club have had very poor comments around this transfer. I have two things to say on this. fans who abuse other players, especially players who haven't even signed for the club yet, they do not represent Arsenal. They do not represent Arsenal fans. I promise you, if you go to the Emirates, and I can see this happening in the Manchester United game, the first game of the season, Noni Madueke will get a good reception. He will absolutely get a good reception at the Emirates, and the fans that go to the stadium support that club through and through. We get a very, very bad reputation because of a small, very loud minority online, and it's part of the reason why I started this podcast, was to kind of make sure that there is enough content out there to drown out that ridiculous, childish behaviour, and make sure that there is good, rational views looking at our club. So, I do believe that Noni Madueke will get a good reception, and actually the majority of Arsenal fans have faith in Mikel Arteta, are willing to give them a chance. And I'm speaking from my own opinion here. I don't necessarily think this is the signing that I wanted at the start of the summer, but I am 100% behind Noni Madueke. If he puts on an Arsenal shirt, I will support him as long as he is trying hard for the club. The only time I will not support a player is when it looks like they have completely given up, when they are not even trying, and I do not think that is something that happens in this group anymore. I really don't. I think we've had that in the past. We've had to experience it. We've had to watch players, just down tools, I guess, is probably the best way of putting it. If you keep working and you're in the red and white, I'll support you. Absolutely. And I think Noni Madueke coming in, he will get a good reception by the true fans of the club. But unfortunately, the very loud minority has really blown up at this transfer. And I just want to say to everyone, no matter what your opinion is on a player, you have to support them when they put the Arsenal shirt on. You have to. And give them a chance to prove you wrong. Absolutely. And I think Noni Madueke will prove a lot of people wrong. I don't think he's going to be the be-all and end-all. But remember, we had Raheem Sterling in that position last year. It was Reiss Nelson the year before. I do think Noni Madueke is capable of, a 10, 15 goal and contribution season in the role that I think Mikel Arteta will deploy him in, which will be some minutes off the left, some minutes off the right. I think he's capable of that. And if he is capable of that, is it 52 million quid's worth? That's a debate, and we have to reflect the rest of the market for that. But for me, that is an improvement. 100% an improvement on Raheem Sterling and Reiss Nelson. So, look, if he can do that, I'm happy. Let's give him a chance. I'm not sure I see it, but let's give him a chance. Let's give him an opportunity. The other thing that we've seen is the murals down by the Emirates defaced. That's been absolutely awful, if you ask me. North Bank Banksy does those, and it's a fantastic spot. Around the Emirates, it's a big part of the matchday experience. If you go to the Tollington pub for a pint, you soak up so much experience and atmosphere with the Arsenal fans, and then you walk to the Emirates past those murals. People have defaced them, whether it's true Arsenal fans. Well, no, let me scratch that. It's definitely not true Arsenal fans. If it's someone who pretends and thinks they're an Arsenal fan, that's a disgrace. If it's fans of other clubs, just trying to make us look terrible, it's also a disgrace. So I think my main message, Madueke is going to potentially get done this week. It is a new signing. That is exciting. I think he will be an upgrade in quality. He will be a good player. I'm not sure I get the fit, but that is fine. Let's trust the club and let's support him no matter what. Moving on, we obviously have Mosquera. That one kind of exploded earlier in the window and we got lots of news about it, but then has just kind of died a death as other targets have become the priority. But the reporting is now following this a little bit more closely and saying we're probably going to look to get this done maybe after the Gyokeres deal this week. The fee's not officially reported yet. We know Valencia were looking towards 20 million euros. Arsenal were more like 14. We know there was a personal terms agreement made between Arsenal and the player, so that's all sorted. So, I mean, it's just a case in this one, as I think it was in the Gyokeres deal, of the two clubs coming closer together. And I think what we are seeing so much from Andrea Berta, his first summer at the club, is he's going to drive a hard bargain on every single deal that he makes. And I kind of love it. I really am here for it. He's driven a hard deal on the Gyokeres one, and we've got some money off. He's driven a hard deal on the Mosquera one, and maybe we'll get some money off. Interestingly, the only one he hasn't really driven a hard deal on is the Madueke run. He's really just gone in and paid that. So that is funny. That is quite an interesting comparison. But look, if Mosquera comes in, I'm really interested to see how he does. I know a lot more about Victor Gyokeres and Noni Madueke and even Martin Zubimendi than I do about Christian Mosquera. But I know that for a very, very young player, he's had a lot of game time in a decent league. And I know that if William Saliba had someone who could genuinely deputise for him last season, I don't think he makes the mistakes he makes at the end of last season in the final few games. And look, that would be helpful for us, right? If we are going to be in a Premier League title race at the end of this year and maybe the final stages of the Champions League again, we are going to need William Saliba at his best. And if Christian Mosquera comes in, plays some games in place of William Saliba before that happens, before he gets to a place where he can't focus or physically he's exhausted, that's okay with me. The final bit of news is it feels like the Ethan Nwaneri deal is progressing. There are, I'm not going to say concrete reports, but just rumblings that some progress has been made. And actually, this is one that we might have just panicked about a little bit too much. I must admit, I reported on it and not reported on it. I gave my opinion on it, and I thought I do stand by this. I always thought Ethan would probably stay, and actually he's got a sensible head on his shoulders. He'd probably follow Miles Lewis-Skelly's lead and renew his contract and stay at Arsenal and be an Arsenal lad. When I said that opinion, I wrap the podcast up, I post it online. Sometimes I get a bit of feedback. Sometimes I listen to it back myself just to quality check it. And there was just a bit of me as I thought about that point where I went, yeah, but what if? And the what if was a disaster. We couldn't see Ethan Nwaneri leave the club given the potential that he has shown in the past season, really, and the previous seasons in the under-21s and with England under-21s as well. So there was a little bit of me that was worried, but it feels like there are rumours and rumblings that in this massive week, the Ethan Nwaneri deal has progressed, and we might see that announced this week as well. Arsenal haven't been crazy fast to announce anything, to be honest. Even the Christian Norgard deal, we saw that leaked picture from London Colney. Someone had driven by and taken a photo of Norgard arriving. It was still maybe 2 to 3 days afterwards until they announced the deal. I appreciate, you've got to get the media stuff ready. That takes time, but I would have expected sort of 24 hours. I think it was closer to 72 between that photo of him arriving on his day and actually us knowing about it officially on club channels. So, maybe all these deals will get done and we'll get the Ornstein bombs and all of that sort of stuff, but the club's official announcements will trickle into next week as well. So a massive week ahead for Arsenal. I'm really, really excited. I'm starting to feel like we are close to concluding our business for the summer, which to be able to say that in the middle of July is really, really, really fantastic. If we can be done, or all but one signing done, by the end of July / first week of August, I will feel very, very good about our summer transfer business. And even though there's the Madueke one that I'm not sure about, and I know other people weren't sure about the Norgard deal, I actually love that deal, but there are other people who aren't sure about that. I think you'll look at the total summer transfer window as a package. If we get, Gyokeres, Madueke, one more attacker, plus the guys we've got in the midfield, defence and Kepa in the kind of reserve goalkeeper spot, I think you'll look at that as a package and go, that is a hell of a summer and potentially our most important summer since the kind of Ben White and Ramsdale summer. So all very, very interesting. All very, very exciting. And I can't wait to see how it plays out. We are only 9 days away from Arsenal versus AC Milan. I cannot wait to watch that game and kind of do another match report for you guys because I'm missing doing that. We are talking a lot about transfers at the moment. I just want to watch Arsenal play football. I'm going to leave it there, guys. Like I said, in the middle, if you have enjoyed this episode of Arsenal Unfiltered or any episode of Arsenal Unfiltered, please consider leaving a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast from. You can find me on Blue Sky, Arsenal-Unfiltered at bluesky.social. Come find me, DM me, chat, interact. Really enjoying speaking to people over there and meeting people. And there will be more YouTube videos coming. We had an issue with last weekend's one. Unfortunately, it all just went wrong. So trying to look at some different ways of doing them. But they will be coming. So keep an eye out for that as well. Thank you so much, guys. All that's left to say is thank you for following. Thank you for listening. And I will speak to you very, very soon.